After a disastrous 2025 Brazilian Grand Prix where Lewis Hamilton qualified outside the top 10 and DNF'd in the main race, he had this to say: I believe there is something extraordinary up ahead in my life and in my destiny. And I truly still believe in this team and what we can achieve together. So, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind after reading this sentence is that not gonna happen, bro. He is actually meaning to the eighth world title, and it's not gonna happen. And the reason why it's not gonna happen is, I mean, there are actually many reasons why it's not gonna happen. And in this video, I'm gonna try to break down all of them, try to include as many reasons that comes to my mind as we can. And the first big reason why Lil Bruh is not gonna win his eighth is because the man is 40 years of age. Now, you guys are gonna say that look at what he has achieved. And then you will point at some pointless stat from when Formula One was just beginning as a sport in the first 10-20 years of the sport, and there were some champions who were old. You know, Fangio was, I think, 44 when he won a Formula One World Championship. So you're gonna go ahead and point to that, but you have to understand that now Formula One is an entirely different ball game. And if you're 40 years of age, you're gonna be beaten by guys who are 27, 28, like around the age group of Max Verstappen. Because now Formula One drivers started like, you know, when they're 21, 22, and by the time they get 27, 28, the real championship level drivers like Verstappen and Leclerc and, you know, Piastri and, you know, Norris is now proving himself. All these types of drivers, by the time they are 27, 28, 29, they have the skills, they have the agility, they have the mental capacity to learn things quickly. And that's a thing that you cannot deny. Lewis Hamilton, at 40 years of age, will take longer to recover after a difficult race. He will not be able to absorb new information at rapid speed as he used to be able to do like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, Lewis Hamilton was a beast. You know, like he was just getting warmed up. He beat Nico Rosberg twice. He got beaten by him once. You know, it is what it is. Things happen. And then he, you know, continually got like better and better. And I think his peak was in 2021 where he was battling Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen didn't make a single mistake all through the season, and Lewis Hamilton, going into the final race, still was dead even on points. So that's unbelievable. So Lewis Hamilton is not going to be able to do this as efficiently as the new generation of drivers. And then Lewis said that he doesn't want to meet the same fate as, you know, Fernando, Kimi, Sebastian, right? He said many months ago, if you look at the team for the last 20 years, they have had amazing drivers, Fernando, Kimi, Sebastian, amazing drivers, but they didn't win a title, and I refuse to have that happen with me. And the reason why this is definitely delusional is because when Sebastian joined Ferrari, he was 27. He already was a four-time world champion. And when Fernando Alonso joined Ferrari, he was, I think, 28. So these two guys joined Ferrari around the time they was just coming to their prime. That's a very critical thing that you must keep in your mind, that when Fernando Alonso came in Ferrari, he won his Ferrari debut, and, you know, Sebastian won like in his first year in the Malaysian Grand Prix 2015. This is the picture from there. And you know what the interesting thing about both of these pictures is that in Fernando's first win for Ferrari, Lewis was with him on the podium, and with Sebastian's first victory at Ferrari, Lewis was also there on the podium with him. So it's an interesting coincidence, I guess, but at the same time, you have to understand that those two guys were about to hit their prime. Like, you hit your physical and mental prime when you're 30, and Sebastian and Fernando, they joined at 27 and 28 respectively, about to hit their prime. So when Fernando was at his actual prime, 30, 31, 32, around that age, when Lewis Hamilton was tearing it up, he was battling with Sebastian Vettel. And then Sebastian Vettel was at his prime when he was 30, 31 years of age in 2017, 2018. So these are the 2 years in which Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton was like had the title fight. And Lewis Hamilton won at the time because at the time he was at his best. Now he's not. Many years have passed. Many incidents have occurred, like psychological and real world, like, all those things have happened. He was like his championship basically, like he should have won Abu Dhabi 2021, and he didn't win that race. Obviously, winning that race would give him the championship and make him an 8-time world champion. But that win belonged to Lewis Hamilton. You can definitely say that to a certain degree. So that has happened. That took a toll on him. And then for the next few years, like he didn't win. I think he didn't have two back-to-back years where he didn't win a race. And that's a first. Lewis Hamilton always had at least one victory in every Formula One season that he has competed until 2022, 2023. So that was insane. And then in 2023-ish, 2024, transition to that period of time, he felt like the team wasn't as warm to him as they were. And then he is like, I'm going to go to Ferrari. I'm going to make this magic happen. But he is forgetting that the guys who are even like, and these guys didn't win, as Lewis himself knows, that amazing drivers, but they didn't win a title. And I refuse to have that happen with me. So these amazing drivers were in Ferrari at their prime or arriving at their prime, and they still failed to do it. Like they still failed to win a title with Ferrari, with Fernando Alonso. Like imagine 2015 Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari, right? Like he was at his peak at the period of time. He will have good results, might even beat Charles Leclerc. I'm willing to believe that. But he still would fail to win a championship with Ferrari for Ferrari-related reasons. So first, we broke down the first reason why Lewis Hamilton's future doesn't have anything extraordinary up ahead and your destiny. He's not going to win his 8th. The first reason is that the man is 40 years of age, and the people who actually had a shot at the title when they were at Ferrari were at their prime, and they even didn't manage to pull it off. Fernando Alonso was out driving the shit out of that car. Like in 2010 Formula One World Championship, Fernando was like 4 points behind Sebastian Vettel while his teammate was P6. That's insane. And like you have to understand, and in Lewis Hamilton's driver standings in 2025, his debut season at Ferrari, it's just not impressive. It's like P10, DSQ, P7, P5, P7, P8. Like it doesn't read good. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at these race results, you would never guess that it's Lewis Hamilton. And Lewis Hamilton, that too in a Ferrari. This looks like a very good midfield driver. This looks like Max Verstappen, like in 2015 when he debuted in Formula One, but instead of that version of instead of the Toro Rosso, he was driving a Force India, like something like that. It looks like that. I mean, there will be a few podiums if it was Max Verstappen driving the 2015 Force India. I don't remember if it was the Force India, which was good. But anyway, he looks like Oliver Behrman's results in a slightly better Haas. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like. It looks like if Isaac Hadjar had good execution in the race, it looks like Alex Albon, kind of. And that's literally what it looks like. You will never say by looking at the race results, just the numbers, the DNF here and there, and the DSQ here and there, you would never say that's Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari. So that's the first big reason why the 8th is not happening. Man is just too old. The second reason is a Ferrari-related reason. Is a Ferrari-related reason. And the reason for that is their engineering philosophy. I made a whole new video about this. And in that video, I explained why Ferrari's engineering philosophy is flawed from the foundational level. Most Formula One teams, or any motorsport team, when they're developing a machine, they bank on innovation. They bank on out-of-the-box thinking. They bank on pushing the boundaries through science and numbers and research and stuff like that. They think of doing all those things. But Ferrari, they're like, let's look for loopholes in the rule book that we can exploit. Like, that's their strategy of making a car go fast, which is a stupid strategy. Because if the loophole gets closed, then your advantage is basically gone. And it has happened multiple times in recent Ferrari history. Like, if you look at the 2019 Formula One season, Ferrari's 2019 car from Belgian Grand Prix onwards was extremely fast in the straights. And it was very apparent in Monza, where Leclerc was defending against Lewis Hamilton. And it was way too impressive how quick Charles was on the straights. And there they have kind of like and in early 2020, Ferrari had some kind of investigation with the FIA, and it was the details were obviously secretive. Like, here is the statement. After thorough technical investigation, FIA concluded it and reached a settlement with the team. They have done some investigation on Ferrari's power unit and done some settlement, and they just added a new double fuel sensor, and some like technical directives were immediately issued clarifying the rule that you cannot put that much amount of fuel, and they added a new fuel sensor to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So after the 2019 season, in 2020, Ferrari practically became a midfield team because of this engineering philosophy. Their engineering philosophy was, hey, our car is shit. Instead of trying to engineer better components that are more aerodynamically efficient, let's look at potential loopholes that we can exploit. And the loophole was like this fuel thing. They put more fuel in the engine, and that's why it was super fast in the straights. Nobody could catch them in the straights, and that's why they, Charles won in Spa and Monza, back-to-back victories. Great races, very emotional, like if you're a Ferrari fan, especially the Monza one. But the point that I'm trying to make is that the way that Ferrari engineers develop a car is just flawed from the beginning. Like, in order to get an advantage, they think we have to kind of play dirty. And it obviously never works in the long run, because eventually FIA will find it, and other teams reported it actually. Other teams are like, they're too fast on the straight, go look at it. And FIA looked at it and they found something. It happened again in the ground effect era with the side plank thing. So Ferrari played around with the mounting positions of the rear plank, the underbody. And because of that, they were getting away with a violation, which was the wearing of the other plane. Like, as the car bottoms on the straight, it rubs with the asphalt. It should not rub off too much, like there's some thickness have to be there at the end of the race. But for Ferrari, like, because they played around with the mounting points, they were kind of getting away with it. And here's what the FIA has done. They issued a technical directive 39, and they have, I'm trying to find this the sentence, they have standardized here. So the thickness is measured at the mounting holes, and the design of the skid block around that hole can influence what does and does not get worn. So Ferrari kind of exploited this loophole. So the FIA has sought to standardize that mounting method. So they have said that you cannot use your own mounting method design. You will use the one that FIA says. So that's a part of the car. They have limited the innovation. They have closed that loophole. And this side plank wear out issue, it has affected Ferrari. In the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton's car was disqualified because the wearing out was too much. The underplank, the underbody of the car worn out too much, and that's why he got disqualified, which means the issue from the technical directive 39, TD39, it still is affecting Ferrari in 2025. They still haven't fixed the fucking issue. So their engineering is just flawed from the ground up, and that's the second reason, which is a Ferrari-related reason, and this is not Hamilton's fault at all. I mean, there's nothing he can do. He is delusional to believe that he refused to have that happen with me. He says something here. If you do the same things, you have the same results. So I'm challenging everything. Good luck with that. And second is, he says that they're very responsive. And this is the kind of like the lie that he's telling himself, because just because people are responsive doesn't mean that change is happening. And I mean, it means that they're just listening to you, which is a positive, but it definitely is not going to drive any kind of results. They're just acknowledging, yeah, Lewis, we need to change, but like obviously that's not going to happen. So from the engineering standpoint and from a work culture standpoint, it's not going to happen. And you look at what Elkin has said. He said that focus more and talk less. That's what this guy has said. And he gave the example of World Endurance Championship hypercars where Ferrari is winning, and also I think in GT they're also good. And he said that in the WEC we are winning, and Ferrari should take the example, and these drivers should shut the fuck up. And what he was referring to was that Lewis Hamilton was obviously sad after the DNF. Charles Leclerc was obviously sad after the DNF. There was a double DNF in the 2025 Brazilian Grand Prix, and these guys were expressing their emotions in the post-race interview, and this motherfucker got his panties in a bunch, and he's like, shut the fuck up, keep working. That's basically what he said. And yeah, I mean, so you have to also understand that apart from being dumbass engineers, having dumbass engineers like who doesn't know how to develop a proper car and just make random adjustments to the technology of the car even if it is working. When something is working, don't change it. They have done this before too. Like that's how idiotic their engineering is. So they changed from push rod to pull rod in the front suspension geometry. And the reason is McLaren and Red Bull did that. Like that was the only reason, that they had no other reason to go for it. And in rear, that they still have the pull rod, but other teams have push rod. So if you're gonna copy others, at least copy them fully. Don't half-ass it. But anyway, like obviously Ferrari's engineering team are a bunch of idiots because this is their strategy. Their strategy is to copy others, look for loopholes. So this is a thing that Lewis Hamilton's challenging and inspiration and past credibility. I mean, nothing's gonna change here, right? He's not gonna be able to change anything. And also the leadership, the management, there's just too much mess. Too many people getting in the way of people who know what they're doing, and this is never gonna work out. And another reason, which is related to Lewis Hamilton himself, is the man is doing too many things. The man is literally doing, I mean, he is promoting some kind of alcohol, which is, whatever, get the bag. Nobody, like it is what it is. We all got to make a living, I guess. I have no problem with that, but you have to understand that when you are doing this, and the new age drivers like Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, they're just grinding hours and hours. They're doing all forms of racing, digital and otherwise. You are gonna have a disadvantage when you meet them on track. Like that's basically is gonna happen. Dude is like looking himself in the mirror like, yeah, you're Lewis Hamilton, you have done it before. Yes, you have done it before, but now is a different time. You have to understand that. These new age drivers are not going to be slow when it comes to adapting to the new 2026 regulation cars. These cars are going to be very fundamentally different. There will be more focus on the battery power rather than the engine, which is weird. The tires will be not as wide, and it's a lot of like video game type of things where you choose to deploy your battery. That's going to be the deciding factor whether you can overtake or not. So it's kind of like a nice fun stuff, whatever it is they're experiencing with. And the fastest way to drive them will be figured out first and quickly and applied into action more quickly and effectively by these younger generation drivers, because they have that adaptability in that age, and they have also been training themselves by spending hours and hours on the sim and doing competitive gaming and basically just doing some racing, making it their like training the muscle memory, if you will. And Lewis Hamilton, I mean, he is out there doing a bunch of things, man. Like, this is not the one thing. And then he is doing some photo shoot. Then he has done some advertisements with, like, what's that guy's name? The guy who was, he's a comedian. I don't remember his name. What's his name? What's his fucking name? I'm going through the comment section. I don't know, but this guy was with Hannibal Buress in that talk show. That was fun. But anyway, Lewis Hamilton is doing a lot of these things that other people just simply ain't. And this is an issue, I like, look, I appreciate him doing all of these things. Somebody needs to go ahead and stand up for different kinds of causes. I get all of that, but at the same time, you have to understand that man is 40 years of age. He's not going to be adapting to the new age of 2026 Formula 1 cars as good as this young generation of drivers, and the new drivers are even better, because those guys like Gabriel Bortoleto and freaking Oliver Behrman and Piastri, all these guys, they are now idolizing Max Verstappen with how much racing he is doing, and they are following his footsteps to just get those hours in. When Lewis Hamilton is gonna go wheel to wheel with these type of guys, not him, but these type of guys, I mean, he will have a disadvantage. Lewis is not even going to beat Fernando Alonso right now. Fernando is 44, and if Lewis and Fernando go wheel to wheel on same car, I would give the advantage to Fernando because of his fighting spirit and his mentality. I would say his craftiness is better than Lewis. So, like, I'm just going to, be very honest that when Lewis said, I believe there is something extraordinary up ahead in my life and in my destiny, I'm telling you what is in your destiny. You are going to Aston Martin in 2027. 2026 is going to be shit, and in 2027 mid-season with Ferrari, Lewis is going to realize that fuck this, and then there will be a news that Lewis Hamilton is moving to Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso is finally retiring from the sport, and that year, like those years when in 2028 he finally joins Aston Martin, the car will be on another level. Like Adrian Newey's work will come to fruition. So Adrian Newey's car will be driven by Fernando Alonso in next year, and then after that Lewis Hamilton. And there he may have a shot at it. Like we will see if he has a shot at the world title in 2028 in that Aston Martin against whomever. Probably, I don't know. I mean, anyone could be fighting. If Verstappen is there on the grid, then he still would be fighting for the world championship. I presume he is 28, I think, 27, 28, around that age. Verstappen, he will be fighting prime Verstappen. So if Red Bull and Ford, they all figure out how to make the perfect car by that point of time, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So that's going to be, something extraordinary, but it's not going to happen in Ferrari because of all of the reasons I just went through. Some of them are Lewis Hamilton related. Some of them are just Ferrari related. And there's not much you can do if you're Lewis Hamilton. Guy needs to wake up, just enjoy it. Just enjoy the experience of being a Ferrari driver because there's nothing else left to do. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.